Living here in Casa Grande to me really means that I get to enjoy everything about Arizona, everything about a very successful community, and still have that small town charm.
It's a great place to visit, it's a great place to live, and anything and everything you need is here.
For me, Casa Grande is a place to come, to stay, to retire, raise your grandchildren, and to just live here forever.
Hi, I'm Casa Grande Mayor Bob Jackson. 2014 was a year of many successes. We renovated 2 of our buildings to better serve our residents. The Downtown Communications Building was expanded and revamped to improve public safety operations and meet the future needs of the fire and police departments. This building was originally served as police headquarters until 2011, when the new police station was built on Val Vista Boulevard. The interior now includes a new dispatch console room with modern equipment and appropriate office and support spaces for a 24/7 facility. The staff you see here route emergency dispatch calls for police and fire, making their work vital to the public safety operations of the city of Casa Grande. The main library in downtown was remodeled to expand capacity and create an open floor plan. Part of the improvements includes a new, larger computer lab to meet the increase in technology demands from our community. The upper level was also converted into a large community room, and the cookie jar opened a small cafe with a small patio for patrons to grab a bite while they enjoy reading a book. Many residents are surprised to learn that Casa Grande has an airport. Located on Pinal Avenue on the north end of town, Casa Grande Municipal Airport is a general aviation airport and is also a great economic development engine. To promote the airport to prospective and current businesses, as well as the general public, we launched a new website for the airport. The website showcases why people should fly to Casa Grande and the many recreational opportunities in and around Casa Grande. Visit the website and take a look at why our airport is worth visiting. Although we've seen little growth in city revenues, we've continued to provide city services at consistent levels. One of the major sources of revenue for the city is sales tax. When our residents shop in Casa Grande, tax dollars help pay for city services like police and fire protection. In fact, over half of the city's general fund goes directly to pay for public safety. In 2014, sales tax collections totaled just over $20 million, and each year since the big downturn, we've seen a steady but slow increase in our sales tax revenues. Because of the efforts of our city staff, we have done a great job of working our way through the downturn in the economy in recent years. In fact, we've been able to maintain our AA bond rating from Fitch Rating, which will help us secure financing at lower interest rates. Casa Grande has a good mix of locally owned and national retail stores. We also have an abundance of restaurants that offer a variety of food options. You can do most of your shopping and dining here in Casa Grande and not have to drive up to the valley. Economic growth is so very important if we're going to remain a sustainable community. Our economic development efforts and infrastructure improvements have resulted in the opening of Sam's Club, the groundbreaking of a new distribution center serving Tractor Supply Company, and the opening of Erman Dairy and Franklin Foods. These new community members will bring hundreds of new jobs to Casa Grande.
We have a 100,000 square foot plant here in Casa Grande, and we employ approximately 115 people. We make Greek yogurt and conventional yogurt for the U.S. market, and we also do some export. We process here in this plant about 2.5 million pounds of milk a week. So when we were looking for a West Coast location for our facility, we looked at a number of states in the West Coast, and we focused in on Arizona pretty quickly because of the great milk supply. So when we started working with the city about 2 years ago, we found a very receptive business environment, very receptive mayor and city staff to help us understand the economics and the infrastructure availability in the city. And so we worked with them for about a year putting together our plan, and ultimately decided to build a plant here because of the nearby major metropolitan areas of Phoenix, LA, San Diego, and just the level of resources and infrastructure that were available to us in the city.
We can't talk about economic development without mentioning the Phoenix Mart project. The developers of the project have been working on building this 1.75 million square foot sourcing center that will create upwards of 7,000 jobs. 3,000 of those jobs will be here in Casa Grande. When completed, Phoenix Mart will not only provide thousands of jobs to the community, but will also provide international exposure to our city, county, and the state. In November of 2014, Casa Grande was featured in Business in Focus magazine. The article highlighted some of Casa Grande's greatest assets in an international audience. The business community is taking notice of Casa Grande, and we are doing the best to attract new business to our community. One of my favorite places is the downtown. Casa Grande Main Street has done an excellent job of keeping the downtown alive and well. Since the renovations in 2012 on Florence Street, Main Street has organized events in the historic downtown every week of the month, bringing new and returning visitors to the area.
Well, the downtown we really feel is the heart of the community, and it is what makes Casa Grande authentic and unique. The street fair is now in its 15th year, so it is an established event that brings out people from all over the region, Phoenix and Tucson area. It's still a very much a strong business center. We have a lot of local businesses that have been here for quite a long time, so there's an established community here that embraces everything that we're doing in order to increase the audience and get more of our newcomers and our local residents to take ownership of the downtown.
Casa Grande's a city of great character, has a small town feel, filled with residents that enjoy giving back to the community. Here are a few reasons why people have moved to Casa Grande.
Casa Grande is just the perfect place to be for a business owner because we get the best of both worlds. And if you're like me and do business throughout the entire state of Arizona, how much more in the middle could you be of all your customers than to be right here in Casa Grande? So the location is just phenomenal for my business, for any business for that matter.
Again, the leadership is what is so strong in Casa Grande, and I think the vision that our leaders have for bringing in new jobs, building on our existing economy while retaining the tradition of agriculture and respecting our roots is something that is very exciting to see as a resident of the community. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen in the next 10 years because I think we're going to see some really positive changes.
Casa Grande provides opportunities for everyone to be successful. Work that we do here in Casa Grande Elementary School District is to ensure our students are prepared to move forward in life. We have added several signature programs. We have a 6th grade academy at Ironwood School to allow parents choice for students who maybe aren't quite ready to go to the middle school. At Casa Grande Middle School, we have a tremendous STEM academy there where students are integrating math and science, language arts, and social studies all under the umbrella of technology and engineering.
I stay in Casa Grande because I think it's a wonderful community with wonderful people, and people work together here. They work to make things better. Banner came into Casa Grande on June 9th, 2014. In our intensive care unit, we are now part of what we call EICU, and what that means in all 22 beds, plus 4 beds in the emergency room, 24/7, 365, our nurses can hit a button and they have a critical care intensivist that are either located in Mesa, Greeley, San Diego, or Tel Aviv, Israel, that actually then come in. They can look at our patients, talk to our physicians and our staff, and really treat patients. They have the data on all of our patients from our computer system and the monitors attached to our patients, and they're trolling that data, looking for trends across the board. And if they see issues that we haven't picked up on, they can actually call us, and we can really make sure that the outcome of the patient is a very positive one.
I'm privileged to work alongside a city council that is very passionate about the community. These 6 individuals are dedicated to making Casa Grande a better place. I've asked them to share a few thoughts about the city's accomplishments.
I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to stay well within our budget for 2014 and still reserve funds for any emergencies that we might have. We were able to do this without having to cut vital services and still maintain our libraries and the other activities that we have for our community members.
I think one of the biggest accomplishments was continuing the financial management of the city, even at a time where there's a turndown in the economy, to be able to say that the city is financially very stable. And I think the other part of it is the investment we've done in our infrastructure.
So some of our greatest accomplishments, besides infrastructure projects we've had that attract these new employers to town, as well as keeping the level of service maintained and giving people a good value for their tax dollar. It's just the great teamwork that we all have at the city level to make sure that all these things get done, expeditiously and also smoothly.
We did some very nice things in 2014. We were able to recruit some industry to the area. Phoenix Mart's moving ahead, which we're looking forward to having the jobs that are supposed to be developed by that company, and Tractor Supply is busy building, and so I think we're going to have a lot of jobs, and I think our economy will gradually pick up.
As other cities have struggled, Casa Grande continues to thrive. It's slowly, but yet we still move ahead.
I really feel our biggest accomplishment is maintaining the levels of service that our community expects. With the budget, the economy, we've had to work hard to make sure that we've become creative in our budget process to serve the individuals and the needs that they have.
I think we've positioned Casa Grande very well for future growth and development. I think as long as we stay focused on the economic development prospects and try to create jobs, the future of Casa Grande is bright. I thought to myself, it didn't seem like we had been very busy over the past 12 months. But as I started looking at the things that I wanted to talk about, it occurred to me that we were way busier than we thought we were. And I think that as you saw in the video, we had a pretty successful year in a lot of areas. I'm going to highlight some of those later, but certainly Sam's Club opening last year was huge. The Tractor Supply Company, which is under construction as we speak, I think they hope to start hiring this summer and be open by the fall. We also have done several city projects, which again, over the last 5 or 6 years, we really focused a lot of our energy on getting our infrastructure ready to be prepared for the next round of economic development. And I will tell you, many of the industries that we have landed in the last 12 to 15 months are because of the care that we took to put the infrastructure together 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's always boring, but I always like to start here, and that's to talk a little bit about our fiscal condition. And you heard in the video, which I thought was kind of interesting, we didn't really tell the council what to say this year. We just said, say whatever you want to say. But I am always encouraged that I think that the council is always on the same page about things. And you heard several of the council people talk about our fiscal condition. We heard a couple of them talk about economic development. And I think that has really been our focus, certainly for the last 5 or 6 years. We did increase our fund balance this fiscal year by $2.2 million. We have always tried to maintain a fund balance at $20 million. To put that in perspective, our general fund budget is about $35 million, so we have a pretty healthy rainy day fund, if you will. And we do that partly so we can maintain our bond rating. As you saw in the video, we have a AA bond rating. It's been raised 4 times in the last 5 years, and given the economic condition, that's almost unheard of. But we were able to increase that fund balance to a little over $22 million as of July 1st of 2014. We are very reliant on sales tax. And while we have slowly seen, we had fairly flat sales tax revenue in the city of Casa Grande for the last 7 or 8 years. We are starting to see a general trend upward on retail sales tax. And sales tax has multiple components to it. So if you put all the components together, we've seen about a 0.5% increase in total sales tax year over year between 2013 and 2014. But we are, like I said, we are seeing an upward trend in that, and I think that's because I do believe the economy is getting better. We have some areas of concern moving forward, however, that I think we need to be very diligent about. Certainly, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've had very little operational growth within the city city family, if you will. And I think the pressure of being applied to increase services, enhance services, add services, is always going to be there. We're not out of the woods yet, so I don't know that the next fiscal year for us is going to be any different than the past have been, but I do think that the pressure is increasing. One of the things that has happened that is really beyond our control, if many of you read the newspaper about state retirement systems, the public safety and retirement system for police and fire has hit on some hard times. That cost for the city of Casa Grande in the upcoming year is estimated to be a little under $1 million more than it was last year. So a significant hit. We have no choice. We do have to pay it. And I will tell you, with the other mayors and council that are sitting here, they'll tell you the same thing is happening in their communities. Medical costs. If you own your own business, I'm sure you've seen the cost of medical coverage for your employees going up. I will say, thanks to the hard work of Don Jett, our Human Resource Director, we've seen 2 years in a row of declines in our medical insurance premiums, which is really unusual and a real tribute to her to go fight the battle with the insurance carrier to bring those costs down. We try to be competitive with our salaries, and in Casa Grande, we are a little bit different than a lot of the other rural communities because our competition is the valley. So we have to have competitive salaries. We are currently doing a salary study to make sure we've maintained that competitiveness. But my sense is, and we've not seen any of the numbers yet, but my sense is that we are going to have to do some salary adjustments to stay competitive in that workforce. And as the economy improves, I think more and more people are more and more willing to leave jobs for new jobs. So I just feel like moving forward, we need to make sure we're competitive with our salaries. We're hamstrung a little bit by state and federal legislation that happens, and while I'll talk a little bit more later about a couple of these, the ones that have really impacted the city of Casa Grande, one is this thing called the Highway User Revenue Fund, and the state legislature for the last few years has been transferring money out of that fund to help balance their general fund. What HERF revenue is, it's road tax revenue. It's what you pay at the gas pump, it's what you pay for your vehicle license fees. And the road system throughout the state is falling apart, but they still transfer about $90 million a year from HERF revenue to help pay for the Department of Public Safety. In Casa Grande, I will tell you that our numbers, our population increased 100% between 2010 and 2000 and 2010, and our HERF revenue is almost identical to what we had back in the 97, 98, 99 time frame. There's some bills at the state legislature right now that are going to impact our ability to do our job. I won't go into those other than to say that they are going to impact our ability to provide service levels. And so moving forward, while we may have great plans of things that we want to do next fiscal year, we may find that we're unable to. Just the way of the world today. Certainly one of the big ones is a rental tax bill that's being wound through the state legislature right now. Certainly we don't get hit as hard as some other cities do, but it's about a $200,000 a year hit to us if they remove that tax. We also started a program under the previous city council, and frankly I think it was a brilliant idea. We have a policy where we take one-time revenues and use those for one-time expenses, because we're never, if it's and predominantly construction sales tax, you don't know whether that number is going to be up or down. So we started funding an equipment replacement program with that. So when we buy a piece of equipment, the day it's delivered, we start putting into a fund to replace it. We just bought a $1.5 million fire truck. We were able to pay cash for it because of this equipment replacement fund. Unfortunately, what's happened over the last 10 years is that we've underestimated the inflationary cost of a lot of those large pieces of equipment. So our equipment replacement fund is underfunded a little bit, and I think that will be one of the things we work on in the next couple of years, because it's really nice to not have to finance police vehicles or fire trucks or street sweepers, whatever it may be. And I also think long-term it really helps our financial stability. We've had several instances where we were supposed to replace a piece of equipment. We've looked at the maintenance history. We've decided we can keep it an extra year. And if you're talking about $1 million scraper out at the landfill, that extra year of service you get out of it is a significant amount of money and a significant savings. One of the other areas that I think we're still challenged with is the wastewater and sanitation revenue. And certainly one of the calls that I regularly get from people is, why do our fees continue to go up? There's a couple of reasons for that, and I talked earlier about state and federal issues that sometimes creep in, and you don't have any ability to say no, really, so you've got to adapt. And in the case of the sanitation fund, we own and operate our own landfill. And 10 years ago, we were able to show the state that we had the financial ability to close the landfill when the time came and take care of it for 30 years after it closed, which is what the federal requirement is. They changed the rule, and we now have to fund a replacement and a closure for the landfill. So a big chunk of your sewer and trash bill that you pay goes towards that closure, post-closure care, and the replacement of the landfill. On the wastewater side, we just expanded the wastewater treatment plant, doubled the capacity about 2 years ago, and we predicated a lot of that on projected growth that was going to happen. That project started probably in 06, 07, at a time when we were booming. So we set up a financing mechanism that anticipated that growth would continue, and we would use some of that revenue to help pay for the sewer plant expansion. As all of you know, the housing market has fallen apart. Certainly the amount of money we get in on capacity charges from new development has gone down. So we've had to substitute a portion of our sewer bill to help cover the cost to pay for the bonds that paid for the treatment plant expansion. I'm going to talk in a few minutes about why it was important that we did that, but certainly, hopefully you all understand that I know I speak for all of the council, we agonize over the sewer and trash bill every year, and if there was a way that we could do this without having to increase it, we certainly would. But it's just a fact of life, and we need to make sure that we have the facilities ready to go when we do get new growth starting. I've always felt that Casa Grande, even though our sewer and trash fees continue to rise, I've always felt like we get a really good value for the dollar that we ask the taxpayers to pay. And I did a little property tax comparison, and I didn't, my full disclosure here, I just kind of picked the neighboring cities and looked at what their property tax rates were. Casa Grande's property tax rate is 99 cents. It's been 99 cents or less for probably 30 years. We have the ability to raise probably $1.10, but I think the council feels like the tradition is 99 cents, we're going to stay at 99 cents. Town of Florence is $1.12. Eloy is $1.14, but they also pay a tax for the fire district. So if you combine the two of those, it's a little over $3 for the city of Eloy. City of Coolidge is $1.86. They have a volunteer fire department for the most part. They do have some full-time firefighters, but most of it's volunteer. Arizona City, which is not even incorporated, but their tax rate in Arizona City is $3.80. And Maricopa, who is still, I think, trying to come out of the home building downturn, is $5.09. Also looked at sewer and trash fees, and while we were the lowest tax rate in our neighboring cities, the sewer trash bill was a little bit, I thought, a little more fair, I guess. Our sewer and trash rate, and these are as of July 1st, and I know we've increased ours about $2, I think, so it's 51 something. But on July 1st, City of Casa Grande's sewer trash combined bill was $48.70. The low was Coolidge at $41.23, and the high was Maricopa at almost $88. So you can see that we're right in the middle of the pack in terms of what our sewer and trash bill is. And while I say we don't really want to raise those fees at all, we feel pretty good that we're still in the lower third of the neighboring cities that we have for sewer and trash. Some of the things that I think we look at that are challenges moving forward. Talked a little bit about sales tax, why we are seeing sales tax revenues trending upward. I can't speak loud enough to everybody that buy local is so important, because that local sales tax stays in the local area. We opened up a Sam's Club this past year. Certainly that has helped capture some of that leakage that was occurring in Casa Grande for sales tax. But it is the #1 revenue source for the city of Casa Grande and funds predominantly public safety, both police and fire. So buy local and buy lots. And I will tell you that the trending over the last couple of months appears that it is recovering fairly nicely. We hope the trend continues. And I do think that that's indicative of what's going on in the local economy. The second area that I think we have some challenges with is the assessed valuation of the community. And during the downturn, I'm sure if all of you that own homes here in town, I know it happened to my house, I saw my property tax bill continue to drop. It was because the assessed value on my house had gone down. It appears that for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts on July 1st, that downward trend in assessed valuation has stopped. We're expecting it to start going the other way. Since we're not going to assess any more than 99 cents, and I know I'm kind of tying the council's hand by saying that, but I also am pretty comfortable that they agree with me. We're only going to see a growth in that if the assessed valuation grows. We have had some new developments in town, which certainly will help that, but we need to have the general assessed valuation of the entire community go up. Talked a little bit about sewer and trash already. The trash issue is kind of interesting because it's all predicated on the life expectancy of the landfill. And I know, 20 years ago, we thought we had 20 years of life. I think if you talk to the public works people today, they'll tell you we still have 17 years of life. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but, it's a moving number. But at some point, we're going to have to replace the landfill, and we're going to have to close the existing one. And if that happens sooner than we expect, we're going to have to adjust those sewer and trash fees upward to cover that. And finally, I talked a little bit about the police and fire pension. That issue is not going to go away. We expect over the next 4 or 5 years for that trend to increase. And it's done really on a employer by employer basis. We have a lot of long tenured police officers and firefighters in the city of Casa Grande. And so as they approach retirement age, that balance is going to get worse and worse. So I think moving forward, our expectation is that our cost for those pension programs is going to continue to go up. That's the last of the bad news. Everything else I have to say is good. So, we've done a couple of things this year that were different. We did privatize a golf course. I know when I first came into office, I guess 8 years ago now, golf course was operating at about a $500,000 a year deficit. Today, I'm happy to say it looks like we might even turn a profit. And this year, we made took a giant step by privatizing the golf course. If you play out there, the course is in some of the best shape it's ever been. And I think we've managed to privatize it without really having the public notice what was going on. It's a great asset to have in the community. I'm glad we've got it. It gives us a place to get rid of our effluent from the treatment plant. And I think that moving forward, that privatization of the golf course was a really smart thing to do. On the public safety side, I was reading our annual financial report, and I give our finance director a bad time sometimes that if you having trouble sleeping at night, pull out the city's financial report and put you right to sleep. But one of the facts that I saw in there that I thought was really important to tell everybody is that last year, the last fiscal year that ended on June 30th, we saw an 11% drop in our Part 1 crimes. The police department has done a great job in continuing to try to get a handle and get ahead of that bad element that every town has. So good job, you guys. Keep it up. We want to see another 11% this year. So. We did highlight a couple of our public projects in the video, most notably the dispatch center and the library expansion. I was early for a meeting, which never happens, the other day at Peart Park, and so I walked into the library and took advantage of the little coffee shop that's in there. It is an absolutely delightful place to sit there and spend some time. I ended up buying 2 or 3 books from the Friends of the Library and walked out $5 poorer and had a cup of coffee to boot. There are some other projects that we are working on this year. Thornton Road is going to be reconstructed. If you've been out there, the road's falling apart, and it does play a huge role in a lot of the freight movement that runs north and south through town. So we'll be reconstructing the road from Gila Bend Highway down to Cottonwood Lane. We've got some signals coming into town. We've got one at a road called Camino Mercado and Florence Boulevard. And for those of you that maybe go to Cottonwood Clinic or the CAC Small Business Development Center, trying to get out of there is almost impossible. Gas station going in across the street, there will be a signal that is be built there. Gas station can't open until the signal's in. We're hoping to have that signal up and operational by the middle of summer. So make getting in and out of that center much, much easier. I know I go over there a lot for Access Arizona meetings, and I generally turn right coming out of there because it's so difficult to turn left. We also have one going in at Casa Grande Avenue and McCartney Road, which is the exit out of Valago Middle School. And if you've ever had occasion to be there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, again, you can't get out if you're making a left turn because of all the traffic on McCartney Road between the freeway and Fry's Marketplace and the kids coming out of school. So 2 very needed ones. We hope to have that signal operational by the time school starts in August. We also have put solar panels up in many of our city facilities. Looks like covered parking, but they really serve an interesting niche. We were the only city to do it the way we did it. It's a private sector model, and we are already seeing savings above and beyond what we expected to see with the solar panels. We did add some this year to the police station, or the public safety building and fire station 504. As it looks like that makes sense, we will continue to do that. And what it does is it locks in our electric rates for the next 20 or 25 years. It's a great, great program. And the added benefit for us is that we get covered parking in the summertime. And just full disclosure, I don't get covered parking. I have my own parking space, but it's not under the cover of the, so I'm not sure how that happened, but I missed out. We are also going to put in a sewer line for the Phoenix Mart project. It's about 6 miles of sewer line. We'll go under I-10, down more or less down Courtson Road, Hacienda and Cottonwood, and will serve the Phoenix Mart project. Design is currently underway on that. It's a shared cost. The city will be doing the project. Phoenix Mart's paying for half, the city's paying for the other half. We have most of the right-of-way. While we haven't got signatures on paper yet for this right-of-way, we've negotiated the right-of-way with virtually all the people we need to. Design is almost done, so we expect to start that project probably in the next 60 or 90 days. Already have a contractor on board for the project as well. We also finished a design concept report for the Courtston I-10 interchange. And a lot of people ask, well, why are you going to Courtson Road instead of Cottonwood Lane? And the Federal Highway Administration's guideline is interchanges every 2 miles. So in our case, we have one at Florence Boulevard, we have one at Courtson, we have one at McCartney Road, we'll have one at Val Vista. And Courtson, because of the development pressures that are occurring around that interchange, we felt we probably needed to start working on a design that we can then work with ADOT to fund an interchange at that location. So we completed that project within the last month or month and a half. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Community Recreation Center. I know I stood here last year and said we were going to start it, and I was wrong. Part of the story with the Community Recreation Center, we had looked for a nonprofit partner because the model at the time was that if you could do a nonprofit partner, you could afford to do it less expensively than having the city operate it totally. We had negotiated a contract with the YMCA, Valley of the Sun YMCA. We were ready to take it to the city council and got a call from the executive director, and they said, you know, we think we've overextended ourselves, so we're going to have to withdraw our contract offer. So we went back to the drawing boards, had our staff start working on some financial arrangements, because our worst nightmare would be to build this facility and then not be able to operate it. Staff has done a great job. They've come back with a plan that appears it would cost no more to run that community center than we currently provide for all of our recreation programs and the space that we've got spread all over town for them. So I think that in the next 60 days, City Council will probably be asked to consider how to move forward on that project, depending upon where we end up. Potentially could be done within 18 months. I just will reiterate, the council has not totally seen all that we got to do. That'll come to us in the next, like I said, 30 to 45 days. At that point, we'll make a decision. If the decision is to move forward, we should see that done in the next 18 months. And again, we already have a contractor and an architect on board for that project. It is funded through some bond proceeds that were approved by the voters about 7 or 8 years ago. We also had a lot of private sector projects that were completed in 2014. Certainly Sam's Club is, for the city, has been a godsend because of the sales tax revenue that's generated out of Sam's Club. And I think that certainly if you go over there, they seem to be busy all the time. They've been a nice addition to town. And I think it's helped stop a lot of retail leakage that we had with people going up to the valley. I will confess that as I stood here a year ago, I was pretty worried about the mall because I think there were lots of people that were moving out and we didn't see people moving in. I am really happy to say that if you go out there today, in the last few months, we've seen several new tenants come in there, Krispy Kreme donuts being one of them. Not that I like donuts, but Bell's department store is out there now. They just opened a party and cake store, which if you need party supplies, I was fortunate enough to go out there for a ribbon cutting when they opened the store up. And they have everything you ever thought you wanted for any kind of party. So again, remember, buy local, and they're a young family that has a similar store in Surprise, so they're anxious to make Casa Grande be a great home for themselves, and I think that moving forward, it's a need we really have here in town that has been unmet. So encourage you all to go out there. We do have several other people that are looking at the mall, and so it's encouraging to know that we're going to reverse that trend of having people move out and start having them move back in. During 2014, we saw the opening of Erman Dairy. You saw in the video that they make Greek yogurt. That was a great find for a couple of reasons. Certainly, they're a good employer. It's their first plant on the West Coast, west of the Mississippi. It helps our local dairies because much of the raw product they get comes from the local dairies. And Greek yogurt is a rapidly growing consumer element that 10 years ago most people hadn't heard of. They are up and running. I talked about how important infrastructure was. They are a large sewer user. And had we not spent the money to build a sewer interceptor within a half a mile of their plant and expanded our treatment plant, we would not have landed Erman Dairy. We were competing with a couple of other Arizona cities for that project, and because we had all the infrastructure there ready for them to go, they ended up coming into Casa Grande. And I think on the video he said they have about 115 employees. They do have expansion room at the plant, and I understand that they are talking about some plant expansions as well. On the just to the east of them is Franklin Foods. They make cream cheese. Again, a company that if we had not had the infrastructure in place, we would not have been able to land them. They also use local milk products for their manufacturing operation. Employ, I think, about 40, 45 people, but again, a nice, steady, growing industry that we've been able to provide a home for here in Casa Grande. We did have an expansion out at ACO Polymer. It's a company that is out at the Airport Industrial Park. We are the North American headquarters for ACO Polymer. They're a company that's based out of Germany. They expanded and added about 40 employees out there during 2014. We had 118 housing starts last year, and while that number pales in comparison to the 2,500 we had during the upsurge of the economy, it's about twice what we were averaging, 3 times what we were averaging, in 2010, 2011, 2012. We are seeing that trend increasing. We are seeing home builders that are coming back into the market. We are seeing a lot of interest in some of the existing lot inventory that was built but never had homes built on them. So I think over the next few years, you're going to see more and more home building taking place. With that being said, I will also say what I said last year, and I believe this to be the case, and I, again, don't want to put words in the council's mouth, but I think they agree with this comment, that our goal has always been to grow the local economy by bringing jobs in here. And if we bring enough jobs in here, that will drive a housing industry. Because I think what separates Casa Grande from a lot of other communities is that so many people live and work here. And it's really hard. I spent 10 years of my life commuting 30 miles to work. It's really hard to take ownership in a community you live in if you don't work there. And conversely, it's hard to take ownership in a community where you work if you don't live there. And so we've always tried to stress, create the jobs, have the jobs drive the housing, have the people move here so that they live and work in the same community, and then they take ownership in the community as well. And I think that certainly, as we move forward, that will become more and more true. We've had several projects that started in 2014. The biggest one that you saw in the video is the distribution center for Tractor Supply. They're building out by the Walmart distribution center. It's about 600,000 square feet of space. I was out there 3 weeks ago, maybe. The walls are up. Like I said, they expect to start hiring probably within the next 2 months and hope to have training in the facility in the early fall and be shipping stuff out by the end of the fall season of 2015. Really nice catch on our part. They will employ about 270 people when they get up and running. They do pay benefits. They're a company that's been around since 1939, I think. They're a Fortune 500 company. All of those things are just really good things when you look at economic development prospects. And so I'm looking forward to having them be part of our community. They're also building a retail store here in town. They'll be building on us. They were just recently approved at P&Z. They're building a facility just west of the LA Fitness Center on Florence Boulevard. If memory serves me correctly, it's about a 25,000 square foot store. Tractor Supply is one of the fastest growing retailers in the United States. And the distribution center that they are building here will serve Arizona, New Mexico, southern Utah, southern Nevada, and a little chunk of California. So you're starting to see more and more of their stores pop up. There's one in Tucson, there's one in Coolidge, one up in Buckeye, there's one in Show Low. And again, all those stores will be serviced out of our distribution center here in Casa Grande. I talked a little bit about the traffic light on Florence Boulevard. That is a Valero gas station. They tried to get into the market about 5 years ago, and when the economy turned south, they decided that they would hold on to their holdings for a while. As you can see, they're up out of the ground and look like they're probably 60 days away or so from being ready to open. We've got a lot of food places that are coming into that are either started in 2014 or finished in 2014. Cane's Chicken is one of them. I have not been there. I know there's some up in the valley, and certainly our grandson speaks very highly of them. All they have is chicken fingers. That construction is going on between Culver's and Walgreens across from the mall. We also have a brand new restaurant downtown. I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to eat there. It's called Red's. They went into the old Pizza Picasso building. Certainly I've had some of the food. It's different, but it's very, very good, and certainly would encourage all of you to go try the new downtown restaurant. Planet Fitness just came in. For those of you that have been here a long time, you remember when that used to be a Walmart store. Now it's a Goodwill store, and there's a room store in there, and the newest tenant is Planet Fitness. It's kind of a different fitness company that really is structured for non-members. So you can go in and pay 3 months and stop if you want to, or if you like it, you can continue to pay. Very nice facility if you've not been in there. Be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Phoenix Mart. That still remains probably the #1 question I get from people is what's going on with Phoenix Mart. As of this morning, because I talked to Paul Tice about it, we have issued a foundation permit for them, and so we would expect to see them start working on the foundation in the next few weeks. We have also been working with them on what's called a fire code analysis. They turned that in about 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. We will have reviewed that and returned it to them by the end of the month. And once they get that back and we're all in agreement what it says, you'll start seeing the building go vertical. And for our guests that maybe don't know what Phoenix Mart is, it's a 1.7 million square foot sourcing center. We'll have about 1,700 vendors inside of it, and it's really a manufacturer to end user market. So it's not a typical mall. And it's taken some time because they've had issues with some of the foreign direct investment that's involved with the project. But I think we feel today better than we felt in a long time that the project's on the right course, are making progress. The fact that we've issued the foundation permit means that we're moving forward on that project. We do have several projects we expect to see start in the next 4 or 5 months. One of my favorites, because that's usually the way I go to get on the freeway, is a Circle K that'll be out on McCartney Road and I-10. So if you need gas or a bottle of water or a candy bar, or if like me, I eat lunch in the car and it's usually a big gulp and a bag of Fritos, be a great place to start. We do have another new industry that is starting to renovate the facility. It's in the old Hunter Douglas building, just down the street, a mile or so. It's called Food for Life, and they are a commercial bakery. They're out of California. They are renovating the Hunter Douglas portion of the site as we speak. They do have plans to expand it. They bought the corner of Gila Bend Highway and Thornton Road, and will be putting a new building in there. And I think they hope to be in operation sometime this year. And again, I don't know their employment numbers, but I'm guessing they're probably 40 to 50 employees. Village by Mary T. Over on Cottonwood Lane, they've come in with a plan for an assisted living facility. And certainly as I get older, I'm more and more interested in assisted living facilities. We do have plans in place being reviewed right now in our building section for that project to start, so we would expect to see it come up out of the ground, hopefully in the next 90 days or so. New McDonald's at the mall. I go out there, Jim Thompson and I have lunch out there every day, every council meeting day, and I'm sitting there looking at all these sites that they're going to put new restaurants in, and I'm not sure how they're all going to fit, but I have absolute faith in Paul Tice and his staff that they figured it out. So McDonald's will be coming at the mall. Buffalo Wild Wings was just approved 2 weeks ago, last week before last, whenever it was. They'll be going in between In-N-Out Burger and Krispy Kreme Donuts. Nice addition to town, and they're telling us they want to get going in a hurry. So I think now that they're approved, you should see them start construction fairly quickly. There is a project called the Wellspring Therapy Center, which has been languishing around for some time, but I understand looks like they're finally going to come out of the ground, and it's a physical therapy facility, be located on the south southwest corner of McMurray and Hennis Road across from the Palm Creek RV Resort. So again, looking at that extended care kind of facilities, certainly proximity to the hospital would be a great addition to the community. And we hope to see them start construction yet this summer. Talked a little bit about the retail store for Tractor Supply. They're in a hurry also, so we expect to see them starting in the next few months. And for those of you that live on the north side of town, that building going up behind Chase Bank is another Taco Bell. So I know I was talking to somebody the other day that was really excited about Taco Bell because whenever it was at the council meeting, I guess, wasn't it? He said, you know, when the Diamondbacks score 6 runs, you get 3 tacos for $1 or something. So he was really excited because he lives on that end of town and he wanted to be able to go take advantage of that. You know, we also were the recipient of some awards this year, and you know, I can't say enough about the effort that our staff puts into some of these projects. We received the Master Plan of the Year from the Arizona Planning Association for our Life on Main Master Plan. That is the area south of the tracks that the city over the last few years has been buying up chunks of land. We approved a master plan for it last year, and hopefully in the upcoming 12 or 15 months we'll start seeing some activity to implement that master plan. But they did win Master Plan of the Year last year. We also, for the 23rd year in a row, got the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And what that tells the public is that we're very transparent about what we do. We've got great people that run the finances for the city. And I think that at the end of the day, that's why we're in the financial shape we're in. The council as a whole is very fiscally conservative, but I think our staff has helped us understand that you can't continue to spend more money than you bring in and sustain a community. We also won for the 17th year in a row the Distinguished Budget Award, and I know we have a relatively new finance director, and there was no pressure or anything, but when you come in and you know 22 years and 16 years prior to your arrival, you've won these awards. There wasn't any pressure, I don't think, was there, Doug? Yeah. We also, it was not very well publicized, and it's too bad, because we also won a Digital Interactive Website Award of Excellence from the City County Communication and Marketing Association. We were one of 3 national winners. So if you've never had occasion to get on our website, and if memory serves me correctly, we get about 21 million hits a year on the website. Real testament to the webmaster, to Augustine, who's also our PIO, and their ability to have a website that's interactive, easy to use, and is constantly changing. And again, didn't get a lot of press coverage, I guess, for that award, but I think it really typifies how far we've come in the last 5 or 6 years, where we really didn't have much of a website 5 or 6 years ago, and now here we are getting a national award for it. We continue to be working regionally as well. We are members of the Greater Phoenix Economic Council as well as Access Arizona. Certainly those 2 affiliations have really helped us attract more and more new industries. We are currently working with 2 or 3 that one that we know we're in the final 3 for, could be a huge addition to the community, and we will continue to be aggressive in that economic development front. When Phoenix Mart gets up and running, I think that the industrial components for this community, we will be looking up into the valley for employees to come down here, because we're going to have more jobs and we have people to fill them. We also are a member of what's called the Sun Corridor Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's fairly new. It's Eloy, Coolidge, Casa Grande, and the unincorporated area of Pinal County around those 3 cities. And it's the way we funnel federal transportation dollars into our community. Because we are now a MPO, we will also be looking at becoming an entitlement city for community development block grants. So again, we're bringing some additional revenue into the city that we didn't have before. I also sit on a I-11 coalition group. If you've not heard about I-11, it is a proposed new interstate highway that will connect eventually Canada with Mexico. The piece from Las Vegas to Phoenix has gotten a lot of press. We've worked very hard in Pinal County to make sure that we work on the piece from Phoenix south to at least Tucson, if not the Mexican border, because we believe that that will open up trade opportunities. If you look at Casa Grande and the way we sit, we've got great east-west connectivity, we've got a railroad, we don't have very good north-south connectivity, and I-11 will provide that. So we will continue to push that envelope, certainly working with Mayor Price from Maricopa, Supervisor Smith from Pinal County, and we're trying to expand that membership. But I think we've got people's attention, because I know Mayor Price was telling me before we started lunch that he'd been back to Washington, D.C., and the congressional delegates see us coming now, and they're going, oh God, here comes these I-11 guys again. So, and I think it's important. We need to push that project forward, and it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but I think if we can leave the legacy that we started it, that's as good as we're going to get. There's also a group called JPAC, the Joint Planning Advisory Committee, that's made up of Maricopa Association of Governments, Pima Association of Governments, Central Arizona Association of Governments, and the Sun Corridor MPO. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out how Phoenix, as it becomes a megapolitan area, and our competition for economic development is no longer, Las Vegas, Nevada, or Salt Lake City, Utah, but instead is the Northeast Corridor or the Los Angeles metro area or Shanghai. How do we enter into that as a group, a regional group, as opposed to individual groups? And I think that moving forward, certainly I've been involved with it since they started. The fact that our new MPO is now at the table with them, I think I see nothing but good things coming out of that over the next few years. Some of our priorities for 2015, I continue to kind of pound on the state and federal people about widening I-10 through the Indian community. I absolutely appreciate the difficulty of that project, but I would wager that everybody in this room has driven on I-10 through the Gila River Indian community and been stopped or been slowed down to 30 miles an hour. The traffic on that stretch of road has become almost unbearable, and I think that if we don't go out there and start asking the questions about why can't we widen I-10, it will never happen. So we're going to continue that fight, and whether they hear us or not, we'll continue pounding away on them. Talked a little bit about I-11. I-11 has just recently been approved for an first phase environmental process. We will be active in that to make sure that I-11 comes through Casa Grande where we would like it to come through, as opposed to where everybody else thinks it should come through. As I said, we're going to continue our economic development efforts. We are working constantly to try to match our workforce up with the jobs that we have coming into the community, and not just at the elementary and high school level, but also at the community college level. We'll continue those in the future to try to make sure that we're getting the best available students coming out of our education system to be able to meet the job demands of the next 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm really confident that with the people we have in those positions, the school superintendents, the school boards, we have the right people. We just need the time and the money to be able to get there. So I think if I were to point at one single thing that is going to keep us from realizing our potential over the next 20 years, it's that education component. So can't speak enough about how important it is. Get involved. You know, the city has got a couple of programs that we work with them. The elementary school district does a summer camp right now for students. We have both fire and police that do summer camp activities with them, and it's to help expose kids to what real life jobs are all about. So if you're not involved, I know Dr. Davidson is here, I know Dr. Goodsell is here. They would love to have whatever input, financial, advice, technical assistance, whatever you have to offer, they would love to have that help. Just some final thoughts, because I don't really have my watch on, but I'm sure I've been up here way too long. Reiterate a couple of things. Number one, buy local. You know, I cannot stress how important that buy local component is. I think that as we look forward, the job situation in the community is improving. I know I stood here last year and said I think it's getting better. I'll tell you now, I know it's getting better. It's not getting better as fast as we would like, but I know it's getting better. And I think that our city council understands and is really committed to making sure that we keep the infrastructure moving forward faster than the growth, so that we don't get to a point where we have to look at somebody and say, gee, we really can't accommodate your new plant here in town. So I think we'll continue to do that moving forward. Talked a little bit about some of these companies that have come into town and expanded. And I tried to do my own little estimate of how many jobs that entailed over the last 12 months. Somewhere around 1,000 jobs in our local economy that have been created with the Erman Dairies, the Tractor Supplies, the expansions at Alco Polymer and Hexcel, Sam's Club. And to put that in perspective, our workforce is about 20,000 people probably, maybe 22,000. Is that about right, Richard? And so if we've created 1,000 jobs in our local economy, that represents 5% of our workforce. Now I recognize that there's a component of companies that have closed, so it's not a net 1,000, but if we can generate 1,000 jobs a year for the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be in really good shape as a community. And I think our city council, city staff are absolutely committed to doing that. I did have one request before we started today, and I'll kind of close with that. Apparently, one of the local radio stations is having a battle of the burbs, and if you go on the city's Facebook page, not the website, the Facebook page, Casa Grande is one of the cities being considered. So if you like us on Facebook, there's a link there, and you go on the link, and then you say you like Casa Grande. Maybe we can move up and be in the top 2 or 3 of the Battle of the Burbs on that radio station. So, and I think at that point, I'd just like to thank you all for coming. I think as I look forward to 2015, I think we've got the right people in place, and I think we've done a really good job of getting ourselves prepared to move forward. I'm excited about some of the things that are going to happen in 2015. Certainly we've got some industrial prospects coming. We're seeing the economy starting to turn around. We're seeing home builders coming back into the market. We're seeing people buy up existing lot inventories that for years have stood there like ghost towns. And so I think I'm very optimistic that 2015 is going to be a great year. So I hope when I come back next year and talk to you, it's all positive news and there is no bad news. So thank you all for coming today. I hope you have a great rest of the day.